evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 180th take live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studios of Euless, Texas. I'm your host as always, Barry Duplessis, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show, a show with polish, poise, style, class, all the right things in all the right places. Yes, but before we get to formal introductions of our guest of honor this evening, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. And that, of course, is our sponsors. Tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Fortunately, Drew Estate did announce later last week that they would be canceling all remaining in-person events for the remainder of the year of 2021. It is a very sad day, but we will be celebrating DE25 at another date. In the meantime, you can still check out some of the latest and greatest from Drew Estate as you visit your local tobacconist, including the Decade to Dedication, the Drew Estate Undercrown 10, a bold new ultra premium addition to Undercrown's current premium lineup of Maduro, Shade, and Sun-Grown Expressions. To celebrate the brand's anniversary in 2021, Drew Estate is getting all decked out. A tagline that denotes Undercrown's 10 elegant packaging and reinforces the pride of Undercrown's 10 years of excellence. The new sophisticated packaging is surpassed only by Undercrown 10's complex, rich, and bold blend of ultra premium aged tobaccos that includes the highest premium Mexican San Andreas, a dark wrapper, the very finest broadleaf binder, and the Connecticut River Shade of the Connecticut River Shade Valley, and a triple blend of select and rare Nicaraguan tobaccos. So check out your local tobacconist today and your Drew Diplomat retailers, and you can sample some of Drew Estate's finest affair and get ready for DE25 when they announce their newest date to celebrate 25 years in the industry. And welcome, everyone. This is our 180th take, and I'm so pleased and I'm so proud to welcome tonight's guest, sponsored by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living united. Yes, it's Mr. Eddy Guerra of Davidoff Cigars. Eddy, how you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm super stoked about this. And yeah, man, let's kick it off.
As am I. Listen, I've been looking forward to this show for quite a while. And I'm so sorry that it's taken me so long to get you on. I've been a big fan of yours for a while.
Good number.
I know, yeah. I figured to get you on a milestone show, none of this, like, the one ends in ones or threes or something like that. I mean, let's get you on like one of those nice even numbers, and then that way that way it is truly special.
Yes.
I just insulted like 3/4 of my guests, but that's fine. I mean, that's fine. They're not here. It's okay.
It's all right. We're all friends.
Yes.
Thanks.
Well, Eddy, I know we're going to be talking about this project a little bit more in depth later, but I wanted to just we always kind of like to kick things off with what we're smoking and drinking tonight. So I know you poured yourself something, I poured myself something, and we both lit up a cigar tonight. But so what are you smoking and drinking?
All right, smoking. The obvious no-brainer, the Avo Caribe that we just launched. I absolutely love it. So cigar of choice. It would have been the cigar of choice even if we didn't just launch it. And then secondly, in spirit, I'm drinking rum tonight. I got two rums. I'm going to kick off the first one with Coconut Cartel, which is an unbelievable product, which we could probably go into detail about it later, but it's incredible. And then the next following will be the Brugal 1888. So
let's dive into this now. Coconut Cartel. I've honest to God never heard of Coconut Cartel. What is it? Coconut. I'm going to ask the dumb question. Is it coconut flavored rum?
No, but
Okay.
it does have coconut in it. So check it out. These guys may kill me. I don't know if they're legally allowed to this. I won't say the name. So this is a fantastic company that has a really cool concept. They used to import coconuts from Guatemala, and they were doing coconut water straight out of the coconut, and it became super popular. All the celebrities are drinking it and all that stuff. So they eventually, they're mixing it with another super premium Guatemalan rum that I cannot mention.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but everyone should know what it is because it's the only premium rum everyone ever talks about. And they somehow, some way said, man, we're just going to stop making this coconut water stuff and start making rum. So they went to that distillery, that super famous one, and they used their 12-year-old rum. So when all alcohol comes out of the barrel, you normally uh, dilute it down with water to make it like 40% versus barrel strength.
Mm-hmm.
And these people do the process of diluting it down with fresh coconut water. So it's fresh coconut water with 12-year-old amazing rum from Guatemala that starts with a Z.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So
Well,
it has like
that
a
sounds
hint of coconut in it, but it's dude, it's like the extreme cocktail in one pour. It's amazing.
but it's not that artificial coconut flavor or
No. I
overpowering.
mean, if you ever had real coconut water, like it's not even sweet.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's not that at all.
That does sound fascinating. I'm up for that.
It's actually super delicious. And I'm a purist, so yeah, that's my jam right now.
Beautiful. Well, and then what was the other one that you're going to be drinking later?
Brugal 1888. It's their top of the line rum from Dominican Republic. Why I love this one is because it's aged in sherry cask. I believe they're ex Macallan cask, sherry cask. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's. I love anything that has sherry cask aging in it, especially when I'm smoking cigars, because I feel like it takes it to another level of complexity and depth, and it pairs quite nicely. So it's like even single malts. I love single malts with sherry finish, just because I feel again takes that extra step into it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. I recommend it.
I absolutely I love sherry cask finished spirits as well. I think that, and then I'm waiting for someone to do it with like a beer. And I know that there's enough craft beer companies out there. I'm sure someone has done it. I just haven't seen it or tried it.
Correct.
But
I'm sure it exists, man. I just don't know where.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I am smoking the Caribe as well. So someone was asking about the pronunciation. So hey, you were not alone. You were not alone, Lou. I was asking Eddy right before the show. So it's Caribe. If you want to pronounce it somewhat as correctly as possible, Caribe, and probably rolled my R's too much because it's not the double R, but I still, it still sounds really good coming off.
Still, it sounded sexy, man. I like that. It was really cool. But yeah, Caribe, which is short for obviously Caribbean. So.
But I know we're going to dive deeper into it in a second, but and then I know you're a fan of tequila as well, and I dropped down some of my Casita Pasión. It's a reposado.
Dude, that's crazy that you're drinking that, because I have that same bottle.
Oh man, I love it. It's so good, so good.
Great stuff.
All right, so I know you're a tequila guy too. So do you go for the dark or do you go for the añejo, or are you a silver guy?
I'm definitely a sipper when it comes to tequila. Don't get me wrong, I will have some blancos or platinos, but like that's normally like a la cocktail. Mezcal though, I will sip, even if it's a Joven mezcal and it's white. But I'm definitely an añejo or reposado. It's crazy, people think age makes everything. It's not. It's really about just what your flavor profile fits. So there's certain brands I prefer the reposado versus the añejo. The añejo just takes it too far. The reposado just hits right, and then obviously the other way around. The older, the better.
Yeah, I'm overall like, yeah, if you wanted to generalize, I would say with tequila, I'm more of a reposado type. I do like my rums a little darker, so
correct.
I go towards the añejo. I really like those rich rums that are like, man, it's like you could drizzle that shit over pancakes. It's so good.
Wow, I say the same thing. I say it's like Aunt Jemima syrup.
Yeah,
it's just yummy. It's so yummy you can't drink too much of it.
Right. No, it's exactly like, yeah, like when I drink rum, I don't want to drink bottles. Like I just,
it depends.
suppose. we're gonna get into cocktails later tonight too. But I'm interested. With dark and stormies, do you use an añejo or do you use do you use like a blanco rum when you make it?
No, that would be more an añejo thing, just because I guess the recipe would call for it.
Sure.
I feel like Blanco is the Paloma. It's the margarita. Um, you know, there's, I've been getting really into again. Like, it's crazy. Is I do tequila with some Topo Chico, one dash of bitters, lime, and it's like really refreshing. Goes down. Um, I could drink it like water, which is a problem, but it's awesome. So other than that, it's repo time. I even enjoy repo margarita, but like I like to make them a little complex. Love a tequila Negroni. The tequila Negroni is my jam.
I've now have to try one.
Yeah.
I never thought about making it with. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but
and
that
the
sounds
mezcal
phenomenal.
it's a level 10. But yeah, you should give it a go.
I think it's really interesting, like, because like when I, was growing up, and even as a kid, when you heard the word mezcal, and even like into my like early 20s and heck, into my early 30s, when someone talked about mezcal, it was almost dirty. Like it was
Well, because you remember that gold and yellow bottle from back in the day. It's probably ingrained in your head. Just like the same thing with people with tequila. Remember the old Cuervo bottles,
right.
We have not so many great memories of that, I would say. But real mezcal, like real artisanal mezcal, is so unique, man. And you go to Oaxaca, Mexico, and it's like each parcel is distilled different. So like a brand, Del Maguey does a really great job of it. I mean, they have 10 different mezcals, and you could like, it's literally like going to one city, but each corner of the city gets its own bottle because they just do it that different. And some are just a lot more expensive than others, but it's delicious, man. It can get really complex, but you got to geek out over this stuff. I do.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I really would love to get deeper into some like more, those craft mezcals a little bit. Just because I haven't been able to as much as with tequila. I will say though, for a cheaper tequila, like they're growing up, there's the Cuervo obviously that you mentioned, but like also Sauza.
Mm-hmm.
But Sauza had this like, I guess, elite tequila that they made. I'm sure.
Generaciones.
Yes, yeah, that shit's good.
Very.
That
I
is
enjoy it.
that is some really good tequila. I've really
I
enjoyed
enjoyed
that.
it quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to be getting into some cocktails and spirits more here with our discussion, but I wanted to go ahead and get into tonight's major point, which is, of course, sponsored by our friends over at Protocol Cigars. Power of the P. Tonight's major point is brought to you by the people, cigar people, the people who know everything about a lifetime of service. Protocol Cigars is more than just pool parties and good times. Well, maybe it is. But behind the fun is a motivation for service, a motivation for giving back. From the original Protocol Blue to the latest release in the Lawman series, Bass Reeves, Protocol has always been about honor, passion, and yes, the people. It's what their life's work has been and always will be. Power of the P, Protocol Cigars. So, Eddy, my show's known to go a little bit longer, and my audience is probably snickering right now because they know exactly what I'm talking about. But I feel like we're going to have to break up your life story into a couple of shows. So there are some snippets of your journey that I kind of wanted to focus on that I found just really, really fascinating. And that was where you started before all of your foray into cigars began. You came into, as a professional, the professional world in the hospitality arena. Did you go to school for that, or was that something that you just naturally gravitated towards, or like what was the
it was
reason
a family
for that?
business. So
Okay.
We the family. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, so all my older brothers. I mean, we owned venues and nightclubs, restaurants in Miami for years. And
In fact, one of your brothers is known as Mr. Miami, which is shocking to me because that's when I think of you, that's what I think of.
right. What you mean? I'm totally not Mr. Miami. So we all just, against the wishes of my hardworking parents, which have nothing to do with that world. My father was a politician and in the medical field, and sent us to the best schools in the world for all of us to be like nightlights. So they hated that, but now they're very proud, I guess. But we just it was a natural thing, you know. We're doing events in venues, and that was marketing was something that I would like to say or feel that came a little really naturally to me, but in that ecosystem of hospitality, because it was just the way of thinking and the way I was kind of taught. Like I was going to school and learning about it, and then I would go and be like, "You guys know nothing. This is how you do it in the real world." Just it was interesting, and it was interesting because you're dealing, which what I would believe at the time was, aside from putting on entertainment and shows and booking the biggest DJs in the world and bands and all that stuff, but you're convincing hardworking people. You got to deliver such a great product that these people are going to come into your venue and spend all the money they made all week, every week. You know, so like they had such a great time. Like, I got to go back there next week. And they just unload. And you could only do that by giving them a product that they felt that kind of appreciation for. So it's like everything is show business, man, and making sure that it's quality. And it was just really interesting how that happened. And then I eventually went on, like, didn't work for the family business. Kind of started working for an amazing company called Yankee Beach. It was a global company, and it had like Central Pay style beach clubs all around the world. So very luxury lifestyle, very high end. It was really interesting because I got to learn a lot about the world of working brand partnerships, you know, and executing, you know, experiences. I don't even call them events, like experiences with, you know, high-end cars, high-end champagne, great food, and just people are coming to have all these experiences. And it was just kind of my entrance into that world, which ironically led me to where I am today, because I did that for so many years. And I worked for that company for so many years. They relocated me to Thailand. I was opening up their venues. It was awesome. And when I hit 30, which was pretty young, but at the time I didn't think I was young. I just felt like I've been doing this forever. And now I look back and I was like, man, I was a pup. But I was like, man, you know, I worked my way up pretty high up in the company, but it was family owned. And I had this whole feeling of like, I could now just go run a hotel for another major conglomerate, or I could work for myself. I had the know-how. I mean, I was opening up multi-million-dollar venues for this company for years. Why not do it for myself? And in a country like Thailand, where, you know, opening up a stunning venue that may cost you $1 million in America will cost you the price of a Honda Accord. So I took that step and left it, and the rest kind of.
There's a comparison I didn't expect to hear tonight.
Yeah. So I took the route of you know, high-end single malts, single cask, and cigars. So it was like a whiskey and cigar bar. It was awesome. I had some partners, and it was great.
So now are your brothers still in the hospitality business, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And are they still stateside, or have they moved on to like other international efforts as well?
No, they're stateside for sure. I mean, they have quite a bit of venues in South Florida.
Some that I'm sure that are like most people would be familiar with. It seems like,
without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I find that world really interesting because I think of like that white glove experience. It can be had anywhere. It really doesn't matter. Like, you know, in my day job, you know, I sell software, and you really don't equate those two things of hospitality of, you know, $1,000 dollar bottles of champagne or a luxurious whiskey and cigar bars in Thailand to a white glove service and software. But we actually have steps that we call white glove service that we try to offer, that extra effort, And so hospitality has always been one of those fascinating things to me, because I think it's really awesome that to have that opportunity, not to necessarily, to experience it, sure, but to be on the giving end of it, I have to imagine is like a unique high that is just as good as on the receiving.
Most gratifying feeling in the world, man. Like, and it's literally the pillar that has held me up into this career of mine of premium cigars. And it's what I feel has set me apart, because what I've always learned through hospitality is the only way to win is by delivering a memorable experience. And people kind of don't realize that every step of the process can be a memorable experience for somebody. So for example, in cigars, anybody I've ever worked with, I've always kind of changed. Dude, we don't set up a table with 4 boxes and buy 3 cigars, get 2 free. That's not memorable, man. You're becoming loyal to a discount, not to a product, So I've always felt like every step of the process, and I got so fortunate that I was able to get hired by Davidoff at the time, because that's also something that's been ingrained in their DNA as well. So it was
time beautifully filled, right?
I was welcome home. Finally, somebody that gets it. And it's been such a great experience, man, because if you can make every step of the process memorable, the consumer will never forget that. And then they become loyal to that, because they get this warm and fuzzy feeling too. Man, this is not something that's inexpensive by any means, right? So you want people to feel like I got my money's worth, and you also want people to eventually leave with the feeling of I'm going to spend my money with this product because I deserve it, And if you can convince yourself that you deserve something, there's no not convincing you otherwise, right? So every step of the process, from how you communicate with people to how you execute an experience inside a store, to when they're smoking it, to following our pairing guides. Our pairing guides are extremely detailed to kind of take you on this emotional roller coaster of an evening. You could be with friends, you could be by yourself, but it is, and I would like to believe that we're the only people that do that right now. So even though none of that's hospitality, it's all very much hospitality.
It's a pretty bold standard you set for yourself.
Yeah, but it's the only way. How do you want to be treated, right? I always feel like that is the most important piece of, and not just our business, but any business. And I feel like so many people go to work and it's exactly that. It's their job, right?
Of course.
But if you could do something where you yourself are the customer, if you could place yourself in that customer position, then everything you do is essentially doing something that that you would want to receive. And then your job is no longer your job, and it becomes your passion, and it becomes this really gratifying thing, because we work so hard as a team on these crazy concepts and awesome experiences, and we get to see the smile on people's faces afterwards, and we're all like, man, it's a really good feeling, So I just got really deep. Shout out to Coconut Cartel.
Shout out to Coconut Cartel. No, but I think you embody that. And listen, this industry is full of types of people like you who have looked at it this way. And it goes back to that tired but aged but appropriate mantra of, if you really truly enjoy what you do, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. Ever. There's some days that are not sexy, like working on spreadsheets and stuff, but
but when you're drinking Coconut Cartel and doing a spreadsheet, it makes it.
I feel like I've been blessed, man. We have the best jobs on the planet. Look what we do. We get to do this, which is pretty awesome.
Well, and and see, that's something that I've always, my impression about you, Eddy, even though we really haven't gotten to know each other as well as I've gotten to know some other people in the industry, my impression about you has always been like that, is that I know you work hard, and I know that other folks work hard in the industry too. That's not what I'm saying, but you work so hard, but at the same time, like every step of the way, you and like some guys like Michael Herklotz and stuff like it, it looks like pure enjoyment. Like, I mean, pure enjoyment. Like, I don't see the spreadsheets. We don't get that vibe. I know there's
Right.
those days, like you said, but when when I see how hard you're working, it just doesn't ever seem like work in that regard.
Right.
And I think that's what I think that's what, at least for me personally, I can say that it causes has embodies a tremendous amount of deep respect that I have for you, because I know it's not all sunshine and roses.
No, it's not. Some people, it's we love it. I can speak for a lot of us in this business. We love it, man. But you know, you put in your hours during the day, which is amazing. But then the travel, which everyone thinks travel is glamorous, and it's nice, it's great. But you know, it's not. You're in one city for 16 hours, and then you're off to the next, and then you're off to the next, and then you're back home, only to flip your bags, catch up on 4 days of missed work in a day, to do it all over again sometimes, you know. And I'm fortunate that I manage a brand, so I'm not like the brand ambassador on the road crushing it, you know, 300 days a year, but just like you miss a lot of part of your life, you know. So you got to really love what you do to where it becomes your life, and you really can, you know, enjoy every moment. So it's work.
So to take a step back, so I know that when you were in the hospitality industry, when you were doing cigar and whiskey bars, I know you had this big drive to go away from Habanos and to really embrace a
Yes.
lot of what we in America know as normal cigars, whatever you want to, you know.
Right.
So
Non-Cubans.
non-Cubans, right?
Yes.
And I know that you were drawn to Davidoff and several other brands, and that's, you know, that's how you've been able to build your career in the premium cigar industry. But looking back, I mean, to say hindsight 2020, looking back, is that why you were so drawn to Davidoff? Because I know you've said this in several interviews, so I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn here. You always saw yourself working for this company.
100%. Yeah. I mean,
Was it
my
because of that time beautifully filled thing that it connected with you? It
yeah.
really spoke to you?
Yeah. So all right. So born and raised in Miami, growing up in Miami, grew up with a lot of manufacturers, not really realizing there were cigar manufacturers at the time. They were just, you know, Ernesto Perez Correa the third, like sitting next to me in school. Like that's what his dad did. Like that was really insignificant at that time. Like we just knew it was like the Miami cigar thing. Like we don't know much about it because we're all Cuban Americans, you know, like our parents all came from Cuba, and it was just like this thing is part of the family culture, but it's not as deep as people like to romance it to be, right? Because when you're a kid, you're busy playing sports, you're not really paying attention to it. So I truly fell in love with the business when I was in Asia. I mean, it's why I went into it. So I've said this story a couple of times and how I got into the business, right? Like I was running a hotel, and we only sold Habanos at the hotel. And I was like, man, because they're all, half of them are plugged. I'm taking returns in, and like, dude, I'm in the hotel business. I'm in the hospitality business. Like cigars are literally an amenity to anybody to keep on drinking, you know, at the time. And I was like, man, I'm dealing with all this bullshit. And I was like, and the way Habanos works, it wasn't like how shops are here or anything like that. Like they didn't give you no discounts. Like we were buying them at retail and then selling them at a markup because you're at a hospitality venue. And over there was a 400% import tax. So a Cohiba Robusto was going for 125 euros, right? So like it was nuts. Only to half of them come back plugged, and I'm just, God, Jesus Christ. So at the time, I was like, wait a minute, I'm the boss out here. Like I know plenty of people back home that their families make fantastic cigars. So whatever. And I didn't know anything about import. I didn't know any of that stuff. I was just like called a couple people that I knew, and they're like, I was like, hey man, I need a box of this. And can you call this person? I need a box of that. Because I'm just filling up a tiny humidor in a hotel. It's nothing out of this world.
Right.
And everybody was like, you know, you're on the complete opposite side of the world. You're inside Asia. Like you're in a market that we don't really distribute in. Like if you want to bring it in, like you can't just buy 2 or 3 boxes off me every other week. Like you got to buy a pallet. You got to distribute. You got to apply for your distribution license. I'm like, man, I'm running a hotel. I don't. It's like, but I was so determined. Yeah, it seems like a lot of work, but I was gonna save a lot of money and all that stuff. So like, I'm in the monthly hotel association meeting. Because I was living in this island called Koh Samui that's in the southeast, right off of Thailand. So like 90 hotel general managers, like everyone's going through the whole tourism thing, and I'm like, oh, I got one more thing to. By the way, are we all tired of Pacific Cigar? Because I know a bunch of companies, and I could bring this stuff in, but like, I don't need a pallet. If everybody wants to go halvesies with me, I could cut all of our costs by like 75%, and you could take care of your guests, which is all I want to do. I just want to provide something quality for my guests. That way they continue drinking. But every time I sell them a cigar, they're going to drink 3 more drinks. I even rather give them a cigar at that point. Like this was the mentality. Keep the guests happy. And for the most part, everybody like me was like, dude, that's such a fucking headache. Just, you bring it in and we'll just buy it off you. And it eventually, like, I was driving home, I was like, shit, I think I got a distribution business with 90 hotels to kick off. And that kind of happened. And so like, I'm doing this, and I call one company that I called was like, hey, we're already in Thailand. It was like some other distributor in Bangkok, and him and we actually ended up becoming partners, but at that time. And dude, like I just kind of got in it, and then at that point I got so like into it, and I got super into like the non-Cuban thing, because I was seeing, one, the domination of Pacific Cigar and Habanos all over Southeast Asia. And dude, when you're the big fish and the only fish in a pond, like they were lazy and they weren't doing anything. They would just open up venues, not tell anyone, and just, they're the only place to get cigars. So they were crushing it. And I'm born and bred from animalistic marketing and nightlife in Miami. And I was like, just looking at this, and I'm like, ooh, I could poke holes in all this. And I got way superior cigars. So like, that's kind of when I went for it and just opened up my own place. But what happened next, I didn't think was going to happen, which is I fell in love with the business overseas, because it's completely different than the US. It was elegant, man. Like you walk into like old vintage, beautiful boardroom style private members clubs, leather Chesterfield couches everywhere. Everybody's in your suit. You're not allowed to use your cell phone. If your cell phone makes a beep, you got to buy everybody in the room a round of drinks. Like it was like super high end.
Oh, wow.
Join the club overseas was $50,000 just to join. Like it was, so like that's the first place that I saw. And I was like, fuck. And that's how I became partners with that person. I was like, man, we gotta do something together. You know, let's build some stuff that's not private. Let's build it for the public, but of the same stature. And there's only one company that does that same type of old world elegance, man. The romance of a cigar, like the respect of a product that goes through 600 steps full of love. You know, you can't just smoke it like a cigarette. You got to really respect it. It doesn't matter if it's a Davidoff. It doesn't matter if it's a bundle brand from somewhere else. Like there's a lot of work that goes into that, and only, at least around the world, only very fortunate people get to enjoy that. So like it was a completely different vision, and the way we did events there were, again, they were all experiences. There's the way everybody did it. It was never any deal, you know. It was, we're gonna do a 6-course dinner with 2 cigars and 6 whiskeys, and it's $300 a head, and at the end I'm gonna sell you a full box because you deserve that, and you deserve to have this elegant experience. And like I super fell in love with that. And then, I mean, I knew about Davidoff, but I took a trip to Malaysia because it was a 30-minute flight So I go to one of their flagship stores in Malaysia, and I was like, holy shit, this is just like what I want to do. But like, it was next level, super next level. So I always knew. And at that time, I was never planning on moving home or anything like that. I felt like I was on top of the world. Until the military overthrew the government, and I realized I'm not in America anymore, and this is real. So,
okay, so I was actually going to save that question. So I've heard you say this several times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the guy who finally asks the question here, because I don't know how much you can talk about or how much you want to talk about. What I have to know what that experience was like. I mean,
scariest moment of my life. I didn't sleep for weeks, man. So it's such a unique story of what was happening, right? So here I am exploding it, right? And I was importing 8 brands, 8 of the top brands in the US, like the 8 largest brands you could possibly imagine that are not like from an Altus or a General or like type conglomerate, right? I was their importer and distributor in Southeast Asia. And I had, at that time, in 3 years, like I crushed it with my team so hard that we had 6 venues at that point.
Oh, wow.
And I flew over one of my brothers that I was like, dude, I'm opening up the biggest complex. It's going to be a high-end whiskey bar, cigar bar. I was like another one of those. And then next door, I had like a speakeasy cocktail bar. And next door to that, I had like this, I turned in a walk-in cooler into an ice bar, vodka bar, or whatever. It was like, I was building this crazy complex. So I was like, I'm going to fly my brother over. Hey, I need you to stay with me for the next 5 months while I focus on the rest.
That had to cost you at least 4 Honda Accords, right?
Right. No, not even. It was crazy. Yeah, it was a lot. But at the time it wasn't, because things were different. And
right.
Dude, so I'm having an event with Abe Flores, right? He flies over there. We have this crazy event. And I did it at this Hyatt hotel that had this amazing rooftop. Like, it wasn't even at my venue. He was going to do the event at my venue the following night. And we have this event. It's kind of cool. And like, I hadn't been watching the news, but like, people are like, hey man, there's going to be like an uprising, like sooner or later. And I'm in the car with Abe, and it sounded like bombs went off. And he turned around, and freaking bombs were going off, like out on a bridge that we just crossed. We're like, whoa. But you know, that's a country that has a lot of turmoil, and every 4 years there's a coup, but like, it's always been peaceful for the most part. You know, they just have a messed up political system. So like, my partner has been there for years. He's like, dude, just don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We kind of not worried about it. We had our events. They went home. It was all good. Business as usual. That was kind of like, you know, a Miami kid, like this. We don't have this. So then it gets serious. And when it gets serious, a month later, I have Kazad in town from Gurkha, and he's doing an event, and it got really kind of crazy, and he picked up and left early. I don't blame him. And again, I was still taking the attitude of like, it'll blow over, you know, because that's all I've been told. And I don't know, I don't like it, but like, it's gonna blow over. It's gonna blow over. The next week, Rocky was in town. Same thing happened. It was weird. And it got serious. Like, tanks were rolling down the street. Businesses were being closed. Now, one day am walking down the street. I've never said this story publicly. So I'm walking down the street one day, and like a van pulls up. By definition, I get kidnapped, right? By military. And like, they're like, hey, what do you know about this person? What do you know about this person? Like, and they're naming like high government officials. Now, all these people are members of my cigar bar, right? They're members of our cigar club. Because imagine, you're in a third world country, like how many people are going to be members of a super high-end place? It's all the government, it's all the military, it's all the super upper echelon. I was like, hey man, I'm just kid from Miami, just American here doing business. I don't know anything. And for the most part, they knew that. They just try to scare you and try to get money from you. And it's just, it was just kind of like a shakedown. And I got shook him down. And it was like crazy. Called the embassy. And the embassy was like, bro, we're not going to have an international incident because of you. You know what I mean? Like, you're just pay the money, keep on going. Right. It was pretty solid advice because after I did that, they were extremely accommodating. So, so that happened, and then my brother looked at me. He's like, "Hey, man, we gotta go." And I was like, "What do you mean we gotta go? I have like this crazy business is all gonna blow over soon. Like, I live great here." And he was like, "Hey, quality of life is not owning bars, especially in all these weird countries where bombs are going off. It's like quality of life is being able to be at the park with your kid. I don't have any kids, but like, like, and you don't got to look over your back. Like, it got to the point that I didn't ever walk down the street. I would only have a driver take me from place to place just because I was frightened. People used to make fun of me. They're like, bro, you're so scared. Just don't worry about it. And I was like, nah, man, I'm not, I'm not used to this. This wasn't it. So I had partners. So I just told my partners, I was like, you guys want to give me a payout and you can stay with the business. You've been here for 20 years. I haven't. So I'm very happy to go back home and start all over again. And I did. And it's probably the best decision I ever made for sure. But it wasn't an easy one. It was scary. Like, I feel like I had PTSD for a while just because I'm not, we don't experience that here.
I mean, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying at the time. Like, dude, I moved back. So at that time I was already living in Bangkok. So I moved back and I moved to downtown Jersey City. I was trying to move into New York, but it was just ridiculous. So I just moved one train stop away across the river in the Hudson because I had to be around like mass transit, mass people. And I lived there for 9 months and just didn't do anything. It was just decompression, just like all my old distributors were like, come work with us, come do this, come do that. And I was just like, I need some me time right now. I need a mental timeout, which is great because I got to meet so many people and experience so many cool cigar lounges over there. And it was really circle back, and I was just gonna take it home. It was very reminiscent of what I had in Bangkok. Like, so when I would go into New York and I go into the Carnegie Club or I go into a Davidoff or I go in, it was very much that old world. And I think New York is like the only place that really still had that. Like, you had Herclox doing this thing and that Sherman. It was very much like what I had, man. So like, it really resonated, and I felt I got all sorts of warm and fuzzies from there and whatever.
That's
cool. That was that. Great story.
Happy
Sunday.
Yeah, no, unbelievable. No, it's kind of reminiscent of a man very well. I had on my show last year, George Remy, growing up in Honduras.
Yeah, one of my best friends.
Yeah, he grew up in Honduras, and he a grenade went off in a room where his baby sister was playing minutes before. That's, I mean, it's just.
Oh, bro, one day we'll take it offline. I got so many great, horrible stories, but crazy ones, man.
That's unbelievable.
But like, it's just, I love traveling. I love living abroad. I just learned that I will, for the time being, not live third world ever again.
There's certain places where it's, you're glad you've been there and done that, and not necessarily on the future list.
Right. No, and I'm glad I was able to experience it all at a young enough age. I was able to come back and kind of put the pedal to the metal in the States and kind of land where I am today, which has been a ride,
Certainly has. So, Eddy, we're gonna kind of do a couple of different things here. We're gonna bounce around with timelines a little bit. So,
by the way, I didn't mean to kill the mood.
Oh no! I've always wanted to ask about it. I mean, you know, I'm a historian, and so like you hear about military coups, I read about it, and you read some of the stories and everything, and this is one that I actually wasn't familiar with historically at all, and to have the opportunity to talk to someone who literally lived through it. I mean, it just it's something I wanted to learn about. But you know, your
You
time in
know why I
time.
love this business?
Why
You
is
know why
that?
I love this business? Because we're all friends. So we're all such great friends that I could get a text message right now from Justin Andrews going, "Way to kill the fucking mood, Ed."
Hey, Justin, give him a break, man. I asked the question. So, but no, but to that point, your time in Thailand, I think this is an interesting segue, even though one probably has nothing to do with the other. You've come over to Davidoff, and you're the senior brand manager over all these different amazing brands, and what a dichotomy between all of them. I mean, they're so distinct, they're so different, and you kind of weave your way into all of them, in and out of them with I'll go ahead and say I'll call it grace, that I think is pretty incredible. And I want to talk about this, one of the most recent campaigns that you launched. What an incredible, unique just unique market. You're talking about the table and buy three get one. No, you send out black scorpions for
Yeah,
and for us to try with the new factory unleashed from Camacho. By the way, they're from Thailand, so I don't know if
I was
they're
about to say. By the way, they're from Thailand, just so you know.
so I didn't know if that was an old connection or if it was just coincidence. But
Coincidence.
uh, so I mean, what a unique challenge. I took part in it along with Ben Lee and Coop. We did a video, like
It
a
was
lot of
awesome.
folks did. I went hardcore, man. I didn't do any dips or hot sauces or
Yeah, you raw
seasonings.
dogged it. That was impressive.
Well, I'm like, hey man, if I'm going to experience something like this, I'm going to just experience it. I mean, no disrespect to anyone who did anything else. I know Ben did some hot sauce, and I'm a hot sauce guy, and but I mean, I thought it was good. I mean,
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's you got to get past the mental picture that you're about to eat a scorpion, but
I mean, well,
protein, man.
here's the way I thought about it. My wife and some of my friends that I showed it to, they're like, really, you're going to eat that? I'm like, listen, like again, I don't know Eddy as well as I know other people, but he works for Davidoff. Davidoff's not sending me something that's going to kill me. Like I'm good. I'm feel pretty comfortable and confident. I just want to see what this tastes like. So, but I mean,
Yeah,
it. And here's the crazy messed up thing, right? Um, it actually paired well with the cigar. Like the because it was
you're
like
the first person to say that, man. I
well,
could send you more.
I mean, I liked Coop loved it too. I thought I mean, I thought it was. I mean, it was very reminiscent of chicha. I compared it to chicharrones. It had
Yeah,
that airy quality, that beefy, meaty. I mean, it was very, it was very beef jerky esque, but in a more
yeah,
airy type fashion. So like a chicharrones, it was kind of that texture, that sensation, and that flavor. It was. I enjoyed it. I really did. And I thought it paired. The reason I thought it paired well with the cigar is the cigar has the factory unleash, which you and I talked about this. Um, I think it's one of the best Camachos. I mean,
grazie.
that have come out in a long time. I mean, you and I are Ecuadorian guys,
Yeah,
and the Camacho Ecuadorian, and I mean, I think it's the best Camacho since then. I mean, no disrespect to Nicaragua that came out last year. I know you guys put a lot of effort into that,
yeah,
but I thought the factory unleash was stellar. I like the exposed foot; gives it a different experience,
yeah,
and the flavor I thought it's really well balanced. And man, I dig it. And for the price point on, are you kidding me?
yeah, man. It's interesting because people never understood the price point piece either. Um, we had a really good strategy. It was a couple things, right? Like you could come out with an annual limited edition. Like, why does it have to be expensive? You know what I mean? Like people have this whole thing of like, oh, it can't be a limited edition if it's not $20. Yeah, it can. We're gonna do it. So we did. But
Well, not only that, it's a value cigar, and you launch a unique marketing campaign around it. I mean, the
Yeah.
Scorpions alone cost more than the damn bundle of the cigars.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is that the quality of the tobacco that we use in the cigars, I mean, they're all the same. It's the same as our core line in terms of quality. It's not like it's value tobacco, you know. The concept behind it is it's one, it could be a collector's piece as an annual limited release, right? And I love why we did it, but I could get to that next. But it's extremely balanced, and it uses Ecuador, but it uses Corojo, it uses all of our tobacco, but it's also a great way for people that don't smoke Camacho as a, you know, a gateway.
Yeah.
Come into the Camacho world. And if you, a lot of people are like, man, this is fucking great. It's really refined. It's not that bold flavor that I'm used to. And it's like, well, if you want that bold flavor, just pay a little bit more. You get into the core line, baby.
There you go.
Know, like,
yeah.
I mean, it's that bump up, you know, and that's literally what it's for. And the concept behind the whole campaign, you know, we launched the whole campcamacho.com digital, you know, platform where it's the whole community and people get to earn badges and they create milestones and eventually you could get to the point where you're part of the board of the fold, you get your name on the wall of the factory and we get to send you test blends and it's like a really cool experience. But if you've ever been to Camp Camacho, you know, you do have the experience where you get to blend your own cigar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to take home. So we have inventory of all these blends just because, I mean, you make something and it's something solid. So what the idea is once people can travel there, we get to reactivate Camp Camacho, which we are this year, is whoever has the best blend that year, that's going to be next year's Factory Unleashed.
Oh, wow.
You know? So, yeah, it's a great way to tie in, you know, the people that get to come visit us and everybody gets to be a part of the process. So it's like, it's very community building. It's very forward thinking, in my opinion, and it went really well with the campaign that we're enrolling. Like, you go to the Camacho Instagram, you see this campaign that's rolling out. We did a bunch of mini documentaries with really cool artisans, and it was just awesome. So, and true Camacho fashion, I didn't want to just like send people cigars with like some cool stuff because it came with some cool stuff, but
sure,
like how do we get people engaged, right? Because the cigar is tied to a platform that's about engagement and community, and the cigar is tied to engagement and community. So like, how do we get people to have fun? And our icon's a scorpion, so everybody must eat scorpions.
Loved it.
It was fun, man, and it made a lot of noise. We got a lot of really cool people joining the challenge. People started reaching out to us. There's a lot of people that contact us like, yo, we want to eat scorpions, which is the craziest thing to ever receive on an email. George was like calling me. He's like, dude, I got like 20 emails of people that want to eat scorpions. And it got wild, man. Like celebrities started eating scorpions. And like, I was like, man, we created something kind of special. What do we do next year? Because I'm not eating a roach. So
yeah, no. The scorpion's good. The
scorpion was it. I don't know where to go from there, but it was awesome, man. And the other thing that we did, and this is a shameless plug, but I'm gonna plug it in because that's why we're here. We unveiled an amazing Camacho, and the effort to do everything different. We have an experience that's going on right now. Experiences, I call it an event and an experience because we don't do events. We create experiences, which is a pairing. And while everybody in every store is always pairing, you know, a spirit, a beer, whatever, not every store has a liquor license. You can't ever pull that off. We wanted to do something like rugged and bold the Camacho way that everybody could do in their house. And it's a really awesome experience, which is we're pairing each one of our core line Camachos with barbecue sauce, with different barbecue sauces. And the vessel to put the barbecue sauce is beef jerky. So it's a jerky and barbecue sauce pairing with cigars. And everybody kind of puts this weird face, and everybody has the experience, and everybody's mind blown.
I'm in.
So it's a really, yeah, and it's a really fun thing. And it's also very Camacho, and it kind of went in time. We created a cookbook. So it's like they're all tied in together, man. So that's why we're recommending people to do barbecue sauce, scorpions. It's one big happy family of awesome and fun. And it's been a really rewarding experience to see people enjoy this and like the wows and oh my God, and this has been so cool. You know, we get to sit back as a team and kind of like get excited about it, you know, so it's fun. It's been a good year.
I really, yeah, because last year you guys did the you did this the Camacho Nicaraguan release with the Liberty from last year. We're going to talk about the Liberty here momentarily for just a second.
Like week one of the pandemic, that was great timing, huh?
Well, and then we got those wonderful butcher blocks, and then the meat cleaver, the branded meat cleaver. I thought that was really, you know, it was. I mean, just was really blown away by that. And I was it's really exciting for you guys to do the Liberty in a 60, which I'm not a big gauge smoker, but it was something different. And then this year, I want to show this off. I mean, this is this year's Liberty.
Yeah.
And you guys do a Churchill, which again is something that hasn't been done. So I'm interested in asking this, Eddy. This is your second Liberty that you've been a part of with the company. And I know a lot of that had to have been, at least the 60 had to have been forecasted before you were there. Maybe not. Yeah. But, was that, I guess, was the Churchill something you wanted to build on because you're like, hey, we did something different last year. Let's do something different again. Or what, like?
Yeah. So the Churchill. So my first project, because we work on quite an advanced schedule. My first projects were Avo Caribe, was the Liberty, and then Factory Unleashed. Like those three were immediately like, welcome to the company. We got to work on this. And I started with this earlier today, man. You got to be the customer. You know what I mean? As a customer, Camacho Liberty is been in the market at that point 18 years. It does well, but like it's almost like I've seen this for 18 years, right? So as a customer, I want to see something different, and I love that we've put together a team that kind of pushes that envelope. So if I'm going to be spending, $20 MSRP, I want some cigar for my money, man. So
okay. Yeah.
Hello Churchill. And it's something that hadn't been done. So it worked because that it sold out instantaneously, and the cigar is phenomenal, man. It's such a great cigar. But like it's something, the trends go like this. Like 60s were all the rage at one point, and then Robustas were all the rage, and then all of a sudden, like it's only Connecticut. It's like the trends just are in and out, and you kind of got to keep an eye on them. And we just felt like the Churchill, the beauty of the Churchill tells a story that the cigar wants it to tell when you smoke it.
Oh, I like that. That's true.
So, like because it will tell you the story it wants to tell, because it's a commitment, man. You're not going to smoke a Churchill in 45 minutes unless you're a monster. George Ramey does that. But it's something that you got to really sit back. You're going to plow through whatever beverages you have, and you're going to make an evening of it. And when you spend that kind of money on limited edition, you deserve that evening, man. and you deserve the story of tobacco that you're about to receive. You know, so that happened. That was at Churchill. And it was different, so I was all about it. Loved it.
Yeah, I think I really like that comparison because I think, like you said, it's a commitment, and like you said, you're not in the business of events; you're in the business of experiences. And I mean, what better thing than a Churchill, because it is an experience.
Yeah.
So, the to go along with your foray into Davidoff, just to go back into your story. So you come back from Thailand, you go through, you make your way through the premium cigar industry, taking advantage of a couple of opportunities with some other companies, and then last year you land this opportunity with Davidoff, like we've been discussing.
It's about to be 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and
into the other beverage.
There we go. So your official title is senior brand manager, and again, as we were talking about, you have a hand in, along with your teams, in all the pots. You work on the Davidoff side, you work on the Avo side, you work on the Camacho side, and then the other subsequent brands, Cusano and Griffins and things like that. So, I mean, it's quite a tall order for any one person to. And I know you have some incredible teammates. I'm not trying to take anything away from the incredible team you've got, but one interview that you gave kind of stood out to me, Eddy, and I was really kind of taken aback by it, because it was when you were talking about when you do a launch, or when you're doing one of these experiences you called, the benchmark that you shoot for, you don't compare it to other cigars in the industry.
No, man, I'm not trying to compete with cigar companies.
And that's really,
never are.
Well, that's really interesting and really different to me. And like the comparison you gave was you compare yourself to benchmarks like Jordan and Nike and and Dom Perignon and some like that's the benchmark that you shoot for. And the example you gave was, this was last year, but Christian Dior and Air Jordan had a project that they did together. It was $15,000 pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's the benchmark that I'm shooting for. And I'm like, okay, so let's here's my question. Let's be real for a couple seconds. Even for the high end of the cigar that you're selling, let's say the Oro Blanco, right? The $500 cigar. That's the peak. How does one compare the benchmark of a campaign for a Liberty or a Factory Unleashed or a Caribe to a $15,000 retail item? How do you do that?
Man. Because it's never about the money. I mean, some people, I guess, may think that. Why? You got to understand, as a marketing person, right? I'm taking off the sales hat.
Okay.
I'm not in sales. I am looking at maximum impact into market, right? I am looking at, aside from distribution, like the fanaticism that it creates. How many times are people talking about it that have nothing to do with the cigar business? How many persons of interest that I have, does it hit their radar? How do people talk about it? Do they talk about it as it is the craziest innovation in the past year or two? Does it set the bar so high that no one else could catch up to you? Like, design wise, like, did you completely crush it? Did you shock people? Like when Dior and Jordan collaboration came out, like, there was a lot of head scratching, and it was also the best thing that ever happened to that company. The people were like, what is Christian Dior doing with Jordan? And then at the same time, the market was like, oh my God, like, oh, so you gotta, figure out what your benchmarks are, or what your benchmarks are. Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? You know, one thing that I'll say a lot, and I know what interview you're talking about, and I said the same thing on the interview, is I never, and I'm so fortunate, man. I'm so fortunate that our president of our company thinks the exact same way. Not interested in competing in the humidor against other brands. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, for the most part, in this business is so busy. Like, my cigar is better than this cigar. You know, and they're trying to catch the attention of everybody that walks inside the humidor. And cool, man, have fun with that. You know what I mean? I think for a lot of the bigger companies, you know, there's a solid 10 or 15 of us. Everybody knows our brands. At least that walks into the humidor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to truthfully try to stand out. Like, those people will know. You know, you put out a quality product that the tobacconists do their job. They'll tell you, this is fucking amazing. The ratings will do their job. This is amazing. The people that follow us on this show follow us because they follow that market. It's amazing. They'll go out and try it. But a majority of the market will never pick up a cigar aficionado. Will never, well, I shouldn't name drop, but whatever. You know what I mean? They don't pick up any publications. They don't do that. You know, they call their buddy, or they'll be like, I'm just trying to pick something incredible up. But if you could impact them in another way, and these are real people that spend real money. I use one of my brothers as an example. My brother, way before I got into the cigar business, he loves smoking cigars, but he doesn't follow any of this stuff. But the guy would spend $1,000 a week on super high-end cigars. There's so many people like that. There's so many people that buy cigars. Actually, the majority of people, if you take the number of all the sales ever made, the majority of people are buying cigars for gifts for other people. You know, if you could impact and you can make yourself a household name, I mean, that's what I'm going for. You know, I'm trying to affect pop culture. I'm trying to affect generations, man. I'm not completely ignoring the cigar industry either, the market. Like, we're just thinking very, 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 very big picture. And what you'll see in a lot of the collaborations and a lot of the campaigns that are going to be rolling out right now, like, there's some massive names that are participating in this. And we put in a lot of work partnering with mega brands, you know? So I always say this. I never market the product, I market the lifestyle. If you're part of the lifestyle, you're part of the ecosystem.
Sure.
Right? So if you're part of the ecosystem that likes nice watches, nice suits, nice cars, like, you'll know, like, all right, man, I gotta get a Rolex or whatever. I only drink super high-end champagne or whatever. If I'm gonna smoke a cigar, it better be a Davidoff. You know, I want to be a part of that ecosystem. I don't want to. It's just, I guess it's kind of hard to articulate, but you know what I mean?
No, I think there's two takeaways that I have from this discussion, which is interesting because, you know, before you even became a part of Davidoff, you know, Davidoff started going toward this Davidoff, specifically white label, started going towards this separation of church and state, if you will, to throw a metaphor at it, you know, because a lot of white label accounts have their Davidoff humidor. It's distinct. It's different. It's apart from everybody else. And it, like you said, you're not necessarily ignoring the cigar market. You're not necessarily ignoring the fact that those other brands in the humidor are your competition. But like you said, it's its own world almost.
It is, dude. It's literally an experience, like, quite literally an experience. Like, you attend one of our experiences, like, you get a book. The book has a pairing guide. It gives you tips on how to dress, how to fold your pocket square, how to shine your shoes, how to shave, art of conversation, art of mixing cocktails. Like, these are takeaways that you take home with you. It's beyond cigars. You're promoting a lifestyle, you know. Now that's Davidoff, but like, we did the same for all brands, because all brands have their own ecosystem and their own market in which, and their own world in which they play with, you know? So it's a lot of serious branding work and a lot of serious like brain power, like teamwork together. But it's something that's super essential, man. If you really want your brand to stand the test of time and resonate with people, and on top of all of that, the quality's got to be, it's got to back up everything. And I mean,
Right.
that's something that, and the company's always done that. Like I'm not a groundbreaker or anything like that. I'm joining an organization that has always had this philosophy. So like that's what I was saying. Like I feel like I'm coming home. You know.
Right.
It's been helping. You know, it's been great. You know.
No, absolutely.
So,
My other takeaway from that is, again, with the benchmarks that you're setting too, is, you know, like you said, it's not about the money, and that now is starting to click and make more sense with me, because when you were talking about it, I was just like, it just, I mean, I had a feeling, I thought I knew what you were talking about, that, but that makes more sense when you're not really taking the money into account. It's about,
yeah, it's two different things, man.
it's two different concepts when because you're talking about, like, you know, the word of the day, the word du jour, impact. You know, what does it do in the market? You know, are people talking about the Caribe like they're talking about, you want them talking about Caribe and that and the experience they had at one of these experiences, like the, you know, the Christian Dior Air Jordan experience,
Of course,
that kind
man.
of thing.
I want, this is going to be a very extreme thing I'm going to say, but like I want, like Benchmark, Kanye West releasing Donda album, which he hasn't even released yet, but like he's had people pay an insane amount of money to go to a listening party. But the internet went nuts. This guy has completely consumed Twitter feeds and Instagram feeds, and obviously we're nowhere near on that level. I'm not saying that either. But in my Twitter feed and my Instagram feed, and everybody that I know in our world and all that kind of stuff, and our employees and our team members, I want Caribe to completely consume that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want it to be in so many places with so many real rave reviews that you can't escape it. And people are just like, it's just so imprinted in your head that when you do go to a cigar shop, it's like second nature. I need to try that.
So let's talk about it. I'm wrapping up my first one. I'm about to light up a second one, but the Caribe, which is launching.
Shout out to you for going back to that.
Yeah, but this is the latest launch from Avo that's taking place right now. It's part of the Synchro series. You know, that kicked off with the Nicaraguan, then you had the Ritmo, and then the Fagata, and then or excuse me, the Fagata, then the Ritmo, excuse me, and then now the Caribe. So my remark to you, I mean, before, I mean, we were talking about doing the show. I think we had already booked it, but when you kind of put it out there, and I immediately saw this photo, Eddy, and I have to say, and I've told you this privately now a couple of times, and so I'll say it publicly as well. Like I hadn't smoked it. I didn't know anything about the blend. All I saw was this photo of the band and the palm tree and blue sky you had in the background, that photo you took, right? And I immediately felt the impression that you had on this cigar. I was like, Eddy had a huge hand in this, and I can tell right off the bat. And so I want to know how hands-on you were with this, because it screams Eddy Guerra. It really does.
So, dude, this was a complete team project.
And you've always been good to credit them. And again, I'm not trying to take away from your team. I know you have a great team that works with you. I apologize.
No, I'm just always very conscious about that, man, because I'm nobody without my team, you know. But there's so many different pieces to this project. So you heard me before we started the show, right? Like I feel like this project is my greatest piece of professional work I've ever done in my life. Right. But there's a lot of, I mean, it's the blend, working with the team. It was the whole conceptualization, the campaign that's going to come out is so special to me because we've worked so hard on it, and it's something that I feel so different, and yet it's still so not different when it comes to the brand. It's so perfectly tailored for the brand that you're not going, huh? But it's so different when you look at the rest of the cigar ecosystem. There's going to be a lot of cool multimedia work that you're going to see rolled out in the digital campaign, which is going to last months. The experiences are going to roll out to all the retailers and partners of ours. It's just special, man. And the blend was a project that I worked closely with the team in Dominican Republic, and we went through a lot of rounds of blends, and it got to the point where it was like, man, we have something really special. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's just emotionally such an amazing project, and I'm so stoked that it's only been out for a few days and the response that we've received. But I feel like it is the perfect fourth cigar to hit the synchro pillar for Avo. And it's like coming back to its roots of the Caribbean, man. And we really so family's Cuban. I'm born in America, obviously. I'm American, but a lot of us come from, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and then there's a lot of Caribbean coasts in Central and South America, so Nicaragua has Caribbean coast, Mexico has Caribbean coast. So like we never really use the word Latinos. We just say we're Caribeños, we're Caribbeans. So this was kind of like a campaign and a project that's built to celebrate that. And if you kind of look at all of our lives combined, like we like to have a good time, man. We like to be out in the sun. We like to smoke cigars. We like to enjoy life. And this was perfectly built for that.
So do you feel like, again, along with your team, because giving a continuous shout out to them, do you feel like this is the first project that you've been a part of in the 2 years that you've been with Davidoff that really has your fingerprints completely all over it?
So far, there's two of them. I mean, it's this and Factory Unleashed. Well, actually, no. I mean, the Liberty, man. I mean, that was, from the design to the blend. I mean, these are all my projects. I treat them all the same. They just, some look different because you got to design them according to the brand. But this one, yeah, like it's part of my culture, man. So it probably comes a little closer to home than most. So the bright colors, the campaign that's gonna roll out, the flavor profile, the experience tied to it. Yeah, it's a little closer to home.
So what I know you're going to be announcing your plans for this campaign. Like you said, it's going to be months of experiences that you've got planned and everything. I know you have the launch party planned for it. But like, what's that experience going to be like? And like, what are some of the first things that we're going to be seeing with this new launch of this particular cigar?
I can't really talk too much about it, but it will be in short, a Caribbean celebration, that we're going to try to activate everywhere but the Caribbean, So, it's perfect. So like, even you in Texas, man, you're going to be like, oh shit, this is really cool. This is totally, the idea is to give somebody an experience, right? To tie it back of kind of how I started my professional career, like in hospitality, like you want to transport people to a different place. Like people want to forget about the real life, you know, like they need a break. They want to go someplace and kind of like let loose and let go and whatever that means. That doesn't necessarily mean, you know, getting drunk or anything like that. They could be enjoying a cigar with friends and having conversation, you know, in your yard, you know, like you just, everybody needs a break and they need to have a mental escape. So we're going to provide that, or at least I believe we are. Yeah, that's the plan.
Well, looking forward to it for sure. And I know you're wondering, everyone needs a break, but I know you don't really take any. So
No.
what's the?
I listen, man. I do though. Like I work extremely hard, many hours, but you know, I have a lot of balance. Balance is key. So I try
Absolutely.
to.
No, absolutely.
This is my balance right now, man. Like, could be worse if I'm smoking cigars and drinking rum, man. Like, it's pretty. I'm having the same conversation I'd probably be having in somebody's yard right now. So.
It's like, that's a compliment. I'm humbled by that. So what's the next Davidoff brand that's going to get Eddy Guerra's influence or your team's influence? Are we going to see? Are we going to see a takeover of Cusano? We're going to see a takeover of Griffins. You've had a chance to work with Camacho. You've had a chance to work with Davidoff.
In short, yeah, you will. You just, so we, you know, because we are a global company, man. So everything we do here, we got to take into consideration. We're going to do in 30 plus countries around the world.
Sure.
There's a lot of legal issues. There's a lot of approvals, and so like our innovation schedules 2 years in advance. So I can't really disclose anything, but there will be more. There will be other brands, and there will be more Avos coming, and there's definitely more Camachos coming, and yeah, it's been an awesome. It's just really cool. There's so much because there's so many different types of innovation, right? Like people feel innovation is just releasing a cigar, but innovation could be releasing an activation experience that really just transforms how you view the product and how you enjoy the product. You know what I mean? So if you look at the beverage industry, I mean, think of Macallan, Johnny Walker. I mean, they don't necessarily release products all the time, but they constantly are releasing new experiences that kind of change the way you view it. It makes you want to try it, makes you enjoy it more, experience it more. So you'll see a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get like the comparison I give with that is and this was a campaign that Davidoff launched shortly before you joined, which was the Taste the Elements campaign, which went back to the Discovery series about like, okay, you know, go back to the Nicaraguan, go back to the Davidoff Yamasa, go back to the Escurio, and it was this kind of foray into something that we were all familiar with, but it was looking at it from through a different lens. And
correct.
And so I totally get what you're saying there, that it's not always about in the most annoying question that we're all forced to ask, and you all are unfortunately forced to answer from considerably from time to time, is the what's new kind of thing. And I always try to get away from asking that question directly. It's more like, you know, try to figure out a different way to ask it, because while I'm, as a cigar geek myself, I'm genuinely curious about new cigars on the horizon, just like all of us are. But at the same time, I'm also really excited about, this is why I was really genuinely excited about this conversation, because I know you view it from a different lens. And
yeah, man, it's interesting, right? So some people may not like this comment, but I don't really care. A lot of products, let me not just say cigars, right, to kind of make it neutral. A lot of products are released annually, and there's a lot of innovation released annually because they need to drive sales and sales targets and financial reasons. And if you notice, it's always about everything new, and you forget about your core and everything you've done in the past, and things fade away. However, I feel like our core, and I think our company feels like our core, and all of our current products, we stand behind. We stand behind the quality and the innovation behind it. You should really only innovate because you see a gap in the market. Oh, we don't have this, or it would continue to make sense on a branding story. Caribe, it makes sense to have that fourth cigar in that pillar that brings the story of Synchro back home to its origin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, let me release a new cigar for the sake of like, let me spike my sales because shareholders need sales. You know, and unfortunately, for the most part, that's what happens. You'll go to annual trade show and there's 18 million new cigars released. Well, what happened to the other 18 million? There's not that many people smoking.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. I mean, and listen, Davidoff's no stranger to this too. You guys have discontinued brands too, but that's how brands, and you and I are probably thinking of the same ones, and I'm not going to name names either, but there are some brands that will continually discontinue because they're in that pattern of that constant innovation, and it's the innovation for the sake of innovation rather than, like you said, building on a pillar or building on the core, or even harkening back to it.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you stop innovating. You can innovate activation wise. You could also innovate with a very limited edition product, which still brings people, that's used as a way to bring people back to your core product. So you come out with a limited edition. Oh my God, I love this. Cool, you love it? All right, it doesn't exist anymore, but you should try our core products, because they're very similar. So it's, yeah.
Well, I go back to a conversation what I had with Omar DeFrias of Fratello Cigars, and he said that he was at an event once, and someone came up to him like, "Hey, I love your cigars. What's new?" The question we were talking about. And he's like, "Well, have you had the Fratello Classico, the original one?" He's like, "No, actually, I haven't." He's like, "Well, it's new to you. Here you go."
All right. You know what I love, and this is me as a cigar customer hat, not employee hat. I love rediscovering. We were texting each other. Like, you rediscovered some products after talking with Plus.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Like, that is the coolest thing ever because people's profiles also go through waves. I go through times where I'm just so like, oh, I'm only smoking medium bodied, or I'm only smoking very mild at this point. I don't know why that happens. It just happens. But it's so great to be like, all right, let me go back to this other product. Be like, damn, that's so good.
Right.
Like, why did I stop smoking that? So I think that's like we have a little bit more privilege than most because we have them sitting in our office, or you have people sending product constantly. I think for the average person that has to go purchase them, it's not as easy, but because it's not as easy, it's probably a little bit more special for them to go back and like try something else.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair.
In the brand, and a little bit more special for it. So I love it. Like, I love when I go out and they're like, "Hey, do you have any new stuff?" I'm like, "No, we're gonna smoke the core," and then people are just like, "Oh, it's so good. It's amazing."
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, we're gonna talk a little bit more core here in just a minute, but we're gonna go into what I call our two fun segments of our show, and of course, the first one is our One Must Go segment, which is always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, and the highly acclaimed Atabey and Byron lines. So smoke one today and start living united. Now, Eddy, you haven't participated in this before, so but my audience is. My audience is familiar with this, and so the concept is I give you three things, and one has to get kicked to the curb, and it's your up to your discretion, of what that definition means as far as kicking to the curb. You can say, well, I'm never going to do this again, or if one has to go because it just doesn't fit into it or whatever, but it's completely up to you. So even though you're going back to your brother holds the title of Mr. Miami, I know you're Miami born and bred. And so and I also know that you are, as you say, you're an equal opportunity person, but you're a big cocktail enthusiast.
I am.
And so I wanted to go back to your roots, and I selected three cocktails that I feel, and I did some research on this, that I feel from my research that really are Miami cocktails, right?
All right.
So these are your three cocktails, and one's got to go. One's got to go. Okay. So here are the three cocktails. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The mojito. Classic, right? Straight up Miami Vice. I mean, it is quintessential Miami. Pina colada, a little bit more of that touristy beach feel, but still very, very, very has that vibe of Miami. And then another one, which is definitely a fan favorite for at least most college people, because it's, other than Long Island iced teas, it gets you drunk faster than anything else in the world. But the Hurricane. So those are the three cocktails: the mojito, the pina colada, and the Hurricane. So from Mr. Miami born and bred, which one's got to go?
Pina colada. It's got to go.
All right. Why? Because I actually enjoy the pina colada. It's not like a go-to.
I do.
But
don't get me wrong. It's not a go-to. I don't really do sugary sweet drinks. But first of all, the mojito's never. That's just.
I figured that was the toss in. I figured that was the easy one, right?
Yeah, because you could also make like insanely great like watermelon mojitos, and all sorts of different flavors are incredible on a hot day. Whatever, amazing. The problem with, I'm gonna put them together. The pina colada and the Hurricane. The problem with them is that they're served frozen, and they're probably served with shitty product and a lot of sugar, and they're crap.
Okay.
While both are tasty,
sure,
there are certain parts in this planet where a Hurricane is necessary. I could live without a pina colada because I could have a mojito, but I can't have a pina colada where the Hurricane is necessary. So I'm going to reserve the Hurricane from whenever I'm in a place that it is necessary.
Fair enough.
And for the record, I will probably be having just straight tequila where the Hurricane is necessary. So the Hurricane may go as well, but since it's only eliminating one, the Hurricane stays.
So, okay, so into this conversation, since again I'm a foreigner, right? I'm not from Miami, and this is just based on some layman's research here. What did I miss? What cocktail did I miss? Like, did I do a good job, or was there one like, man, I know he's going to say these?
No, you're right. I mean, no, because as far as when people picture Miami, they picture Ocean Drive, South Beach, and all that kind of shit, which us locals. But first of all, the mojito's everywhere, and it's a fantastic cocktail, so that's why it's completely safe. It'll always be safe. It's great. I think what you missed is the traditional Hemingway daiquiri.
Okay, not the strawberry one that you can get at Chili's. The traditional daiquiri.
No.
Yeah.
The traditional Hemingway daiquiri that you'll find at La Florida in Cuba, or you'll find at any respectable cocktail bar that's shaken, and it is rum, sugar, syrup, and lime. And Hemingway would put a little bit of grenadine in it. And anything that Hemingway drinks, in my opinion, is awesome. So
the traditional daiquiri. I thought about that one. I actually didn't know, because my mind's been so corrupted by like I said, the Chili's, Applebee's, strawberry daiquiri. Yeah. So and I actually really enjoyed the traditional Hemingway daiquiri considerably, but I didn't know that it was still such an imprint on
It
the
is. I mean, you got to understand. The last 10 years, cocktail culture has made an immense return to society. So there's so many cocktail, like true cocktail bars and speakeasies and all sorts of stuff. So it's back.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I would say, and that will always say, because that's in my top. So again, I enjoy a pina colada. I'm not going to say I don't, man. But it is very rare.
As long as it's made with superior product, or
Yeah,
you can hide some shit in there, like you said.
yeah. I'm very cautious about my caloric intake and the quality of caloric intake as I exercise rigorously to counteract the damage I did.
For so what's a cocktail that you gravitate toward that's not Florida, Miami traditional? Like, the cocktail that comes to mind for me that doesn't fit anywhere near in that culture, obviously, is like the mint julep, which I love because I love bourbon and I think it's fantastic. But like, what's a cocktail that's outside of that world that you're just like, man, that shit's my jam. I will order that anywhere else because I really enjoy it.
There's a couple cocktails that I judge people by. So I am not an alcoholic, disclaimer, but I do drink heavily. When I go to a cocktail bar, there's 3 cocktails that I try before I actually start really ordering cocktails, which is pretty extreme because that means I drink quite a bit. But a Manhattan is extremely important. It's really complex, but yet simple, but people can fuck it up. I also like a penicillin, which is a classic cocktail, but it's
You don't hear that very often, but yeah.
it's glorious. And then I like the Godfather, man, and that's a really old cocktail. Actually, how the Godfather got his name is what Marlon Brando used to drink while making the Godfather, the original movie, and then they made a cocktail out of it, which to me is the ultimate cigar beverage. If you're ever gonna make a cocktail for a cigar, to try a cigar, the Godfather is the way to go, which is 2 parts bourbon, 1 part Di Serrano Amaretto.
That's it.
Yeah, so
Nice.
Obviously bourbon goes with cigars, we know that, but Amaretto is made from almonds, so and it's a little sweeter. But since it's 1 part Amaretto and 2 parts bourbon, it's not super sweet, but it gets it just enough of that almond nutty, profile to go along with the bourbon. That's just give it a shot.
No, I definitely down. I can honestly say that I've never had one. So yeah, that'll be on my next order next time I get a cocktail for sure. We'll see. Again, like you said, you judge people on it. I'm going to see if how many people have actually heard of it, or if I have to explain it to people. So that'll be good to try for sure. All right. Well, yeah. Eddy, thank you for participating in that. I know it wasn't probably as painful as you thought it was going to be.
No, I thought we were going to talk about products. I mean, last time I saw that.
Oh yeah, no,
so I was like, shit.
Unfortunately, I'm a little tough on Claus just because I know he's that's a hard question for him, and it's one that I like hearing him answer because I really enjoyed his top 10 Davidoff list that we talked about on the last show that I had him on. Because with his family and him being so ingrained in Davidoff for all the years and everything, it was really interesting for me to see him pick his favorites out of that. So I mean, there's so many.
Dude, we so before he moved back, we used to play that game quite often.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Yeah, it is because I don't care what anyone says. Like you have 3 or 4 in your top 10 always remain in your top 10, but the other 7 change.
No, that's fair.
On what mood you're in that month,
I think that's fair.
I used to be like, this is mine, what's yours. It was great. Good time. I enjoy that. That's cigar nerd stuff, all about it.
Right. Well, our next fun segment is something that's been a great project of mine. We've been talking a lot about your projects tonight, Eddy, and one of the things that I launched last year on my birthday in late 2020 was I wanted to do something a little bit different with this show, and so I started this tradition of asking my guests to select a nonprofit or charity to spotlight or highlight. So that we could bring my audience's attention to it, perhaps raise a little money as well. It's always good to raise money for a great cause. And I've been really, really excited to talk about a lot of different organizations, spanning a lot of different causes. And yours was in no short order, very impressive, because I think this is an organization that is very storied. They celebrated their 100th anniversary in 2019. And maybe gets overshadowed by a lot of other organizations, but it has such a herald history, and that's Easterseals, the Easterseals Foundation, which was again founded in 1919. So it celebrated its 100th anniversary a couple years ago, and it's specifically geared toward children, but more they've gotten working with adults, but it's mostly around folks with disabilities.
Yeah.
And the founder, he unfortunately lost his son to a tragic accident. And what he learned as he was going into philanthropic work, that society is kind of kept, where at the time was keeping disabled children specifically, but people with disabilities kind of behind the curtain. And he wanted to bring that to the forefront. And so he started working with children. And then when World War II ended, he started working with veterans and everything. What was it about the Easterseals organization? What's your history with them, or what was it about this organization that spoke to you that you wanted to highlight tonight?
Yeah, so my brother had twins, and unfortunately one didn't make it, but my nephew that didn't make it was in a hospital for a year and a half, and they definitely stepped in and stepped up to the plate and tried to help. My nephew was the twins were born at 4.5 months old. So I mean they would fit in the palm of your hand. Yeah, it's crazy. So my beautiful niece, she's 14 now, but her brother, he didn't make it. But it was to see the passion that they put and the help that they gave my family and my brother and everybody throughout that crisis was super heartwarming. And even though you go through a tragedy, man, like you really see people that try to make a difference for like the greater good, man. Dude, they don't get paid to take care of that stuff. Like they really do it to be good humans, and I feel in today's world we're lacking a lot of good humans, and then children. I mean, you're talking about the most innocent people on earth, so then you're talking about disabled children. I mean, it's got to be extremely tough, man. So anything that you can do to kind of have a better life, in my opinion, it's extremely important. My brother's on their board as well.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I got turned on to it because of what happened, right? I really started paying attention, and I realized that it did go international, and like, it's going to tie back a little bit to when I was living in Thailand, but like, they, as a society, kind of don't deal with people with disabilities or mental health or whatever. Like, they just kind of get abandoned by parents constantly in that country. And so like I saw Easterseals take a big step into creating foster homes and communities for these kids and helping them out. It's kind of weird, you come from the United States and you see all the work we do to kind of help people and parents that kind of go through that, because I can't imagine. I'm not a parent yet, but I can't imagine what it is to have a child, and having a perfectly healthy child alone is a lot of work. But having a child that's disabled, it's got to be unfathomable to me. So to have an organization that helps you out for that whole process is extremely important, in my opinion.
Unbelievable.
Way to show the mood, Eddie.
No. So I again, I don't mean to. I hope I'm not asking anything too personal, but you said your niece now is 14. I mean, is she a healthy 14-year-old?
She's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, she was fine. When you have twins that are preemies,
Yeah, born at 4 months old. I mean, that's an uphill battle right away.
Right away. So she was fine. Her brother, it was like almost 2 years in the hospital, man. The family being in the hospital every day. It was it took a toll, but a long time ago, and everybody kind of became better people for it. But like everything happens for a reason, man, and it kind of turns you on to organizations like Easterseals and how they help other people. And if you receive help, like, why not be that person that continues giving the help to other families that need it? Like, people forget to pay it forward, and everybody's so busy with themselves, man. But like, true life, true happiness comes from gratitude and paying it forward.
No, I couldn't agree more.
It's priceless. So it's just something that I'm a huge fan and supporter of, and I think everybody in our families for the personal reason, but like after we really, really, really got exposed to it, it's just really important to all of us.
It's a fantastic organization, and I'm really pleased to spotlight it tonight. And so later tonight, Eddy, as I have pledged each episode and each take, I will be making, my wife and I will be making a donation later tonight I'm going to change we're going to do it in your family's honor, because this is obviously a family cause. So we'll be doing it in your family's honor. And I put the link, if you guys are anyone interested in donating, I put that link in the chat. It'll also be in the show notes as well. If you go back on the Facebook feed, the ad for tonight's show, there's a link directly to it. And I say this every week, Eddy, but one of the things, there's a lot of negative things about social media, a lot of negative things about Facebook. But what I love about the fact that you can attach causes to your posts, and it doesn't have to be, it used to be for your birthday, but now you can just make it all the time. And what's really great about Facebook is that this isn't like GoFundMe or any other project. 100% of your donation, if you donate through Facebook, goes towards the organization.
That's so great.
And
yeah, that's so great. We're all, a lot of us, I mean, not everybody, people struggle, and it's definitely a hard time, but there's a lot of us that are still fortunate, so
absolutely,
to be able to help people right now that are really going through some shit, like, for God's sakes, look what happened to Haiti yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a country that can't catch a break.
And we're fortunate. I mean, I'm sitting here drinking, super expensive rum, smoking amazing cigars, hanging out in the loft. Like, meanwhile, there's people that are homeless and lost, 8 people in their family yesterday. It kind of makes you kind of take a step back and go, shit, what's $50? What's $10? What's $20? What's anything, man? But like, if you could kind of help, because money doesn't fix everything, obviously, but it may pay for the therapy to help somebody deal with something mentally or something that actually needs finances. It's just helping people is pretty important, something that a lot of people don't do.
Well, the reach that Easterseals Foundation has is incredible. But I mean, let's just look at it from the narrow purview of your experience. I mean, that's something that's very commonplace. Premature birth is something that happens, unfortunately, in this day, and even today in 2021 happens all the time. And if we can help those families like your family was helped, I mean, it's a great cause. It's a fantastic cause. And
like for real, man. You're also, unfortunately, like my nephew didn't make it, but like there's other kids that do make it, but they still need assistance. Like you're investing in the future. You know what I mean? Like you're investing in the future of this country. And yeah, I think that's super, 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 super important. But
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that your niece is a healthy, wonderful 14-year-old girl, and she has had a great life. And even though it started off a little rocky and everything, and it's unfortunate about your nephew, but obviously, but I'm hoping that experience in the tragedy turned out to be one of those beautiful things that you guys can celebrate the life of your niece because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta push and move forward. Everything happens for a reason. I mean, we've done a lot as a family. Because of that, my brother ended up on the board, but we've done so many massive events raising money for them to help other families. So, one tragedy leads to so many positive outcomes because the amount of money that's been raised to help so many other families because one tragedy. Like it's there's blessings in that.
Yeah, it's the age-old mantra. We've been talking about mantras tonight, a couple of times, like the age-old mantra: when God closes a door, he opens a window, that kind of thing. And so it
100%
creates a lot of opportunity. So yeah, to my audience, again, the link is in the chat. You can also go to the show notes later on if you're listening later on via podcast. You can check it out. And great organization. And if you feel so called, I know Eddy and his family would appreciate it, and I would appreciate it as well if you'd consider donating. So to a great cause. So thank you, Eddy.
Thank you.
So to go back to bring this back into their discussion about cigars and everything, a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity and the privilege of you've mentioned it a couple of times tonight, of smoking with Klaus, and we did a tasting of the Davidoff Dominicana, the 2014, which is the latest campaign that Davidoff has been doing, and it's a fantastic cigar. Really enjoyed that experience and everything. So, talk a little bit about your role in this particular. You were talking a little bit earlier today about there's different ways of doing this. Like we talked about the elements, taste the elements thing, which you weren't a part of prior to coming to Davidoff, but you mentioned how limited editions can play a part in bringing people back to the core. So what was the vision with the Dominicana and how it was going to bring people back to white label the way that you wanted to? And was it ultimately successful for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was so far a lot more successful than what we anticipated. It's tricky. It's supposed to be a limited release, not a limited edition. So was,
because there's going to be you're going to be introducing, I guess, portions, right, to the market, allocations.
Yeah, I mean, there was supposed to be a lot more, but a lot sold right at the beginning. But anything that has a Davidoff white label, for the most part, there's a reason for it. And there's a lot of synergy between that and the core line, and it's meant to tie you and bring you back. So like you smoke one and you smoke the other, you'll be like, aha, which is great, man. But this was an expression, to celebrate the Dominican, and it's very, while it has tobacco wise a lot of similarities flavor wise, it's very different than the core line. So sometimes, like I was saying, like you have to release stuff not for the sake of releasing, but for the sake of there's a gap that needs to be filled.
It's a fuller blend. It's a fuller blend.
It sure is. Yeah, no, it is, man, and it's something that it's so unique, man. So there's not many out there. I had actually, you got some of my personal stash because we sold out of everything.
I had a feeling it was you when Klaus told me that. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I had a feeling it was you.
He called me. He's like, hey, man, we need to send Bears and stuff. I was like, ooh, I got him. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it's very special, man, because for me, right, everyone's palate's different. Um, I know what kind of mood I'm going to be in and what I'm going to be drinking on a certain evening or whatnot. Like, so I'll know like this is a cigar for that, you know. So it's that really full mouthfeel, really.
Mhm.
Profile that you may be looking for at times in the evening. But I love it. It's been a spectacular hit, and I mean everything's Dominican but the binder, so it's a really cool thing to do for sure.
So going back to the Discovery series, and I've mentioned the tasty elements a couple of times tonight. Is that something that Davidoff is potentially looking at in the future of adding on to? Again, avoiding the question of what's new, what's new. I really apologize. But is that something that we're going to see any additions on? Or is the trio of Yamasa, Nicaragua, and Escurio, is that the strong
You'll see
pillars you're looking
innovation on
for?
it for sure. You'll
Okay.
see innovation on it for sure. I'll just say that it'll be innovation geared towards continual exploration of the trio, right? I mean, for the most part, any innovation that we do is geared to again bring people back to the
Mhm.
core. So, but
And
you'll
finding
definitely
that
see it.
gap that you were saying, right?
Yeah, man, it's really important. So it'll happen. You know, I mean, we still do our aside from all that like annual limited edition. So like you'll see the year of again, obviously coming out. Um, you also see the new Chef's Edition coming out soon,
See, the
which is
chef.
a very interesting project.
I'm glad you mentioned the chef's edition. I haven't talked a lot about that, unfortunately, on this show. So I'd like to give it some due right now. So that's a cigar series that from a Davidoff fan, I think is probably one of the more interesting ones because while it traditionally carries that white label, you know, the classic white label Davidoff, right? Those cigars tend to be so far from the white label purview. We talked
It
about the
does.
Dominicana being fuller, right? I mean, these cigars are, I mean, they're packed with flavor. They're in
Yeah.
your face. They're aggressive in a good way.
Right.
Still nuanced and delicate, but in its own right. But man, they've got some giddy up, as I like to say. Is there? I mean, I mean, that's obviously intentional, but what is the? I guess what was the motivation to deliver that experience? Because again, you also have to worry about polarizing your core fan base, right? Like like hey, because
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's also. I mean, keep in mind it's a very limited project. It's
right,
not, so it's already hard to find to begin with. But core values, core product, two different things, but they're also the same thing. But to go back to the beginning of our conversation, like one of the core things that Davidoff does is provide experiences to people. Also, it plays in the sphere of lifestyle and what do you do, so the Chef's Addiction is really an awesome project. It's something that I loved way before I joined the company because like I so resonated with it because it was like the whole cigar dinner and quality food world, you know, which we do. Um, and like we have our gastronomy tour that we're in the middle right now, which it's a part of that whole lifestyle thing that we're talking about. And the Chef's Edition is a project that was executed with Michelin star chefs from around the world. So like Chef, Moscow, New York, Chef Thomas Keller. You have the amazing Chef. I go from Switzerland. You have like all these really amazing chefs from around the world where they get to work on this blend and come up with this amazing creation. And you're talking about you take cigars out of people that are masters of the palate, globally.
Mhm.
when it comes to a billion ingredients. I mean, there's like, we have good palates, but we don't have super palates. I mean, these guys have super palates, and they get to work on this project and create something artistically that goes along with the food and the meals and the experience that they create, which is mind blowing. And then, you know, you grab all these amazing things and you throw it all together, and out comes this product, which is the chef's edition.
Mhm.
And the cigar is ridiculously great, and different. But it does carry the white label. You know, does it tie to the core? Some elements definitely do, but it also ties to the core in terms of the core values of what we do, you know. And then it's so rare and limited that it's in and out. You won't see it for another 2 years. You know, you just got to hope to catch one of the gastronomy events where it's featured.
So I know you're a big music guy, and that's kind of
I am.
and you know, I mean, what better brand for you to get your, you know, put your fingerprints on than Avo, which that's the backbone of it.
That's my jam. Yeah.
But I mentioned because you were talking about how, you know, Davidoff transcends cigars and how, you know, you go into like the art editions, another limited that you guys do, the chef's
Yeah.
edition, you know, the master collection, you know, all these different forays in with the chef and the art that are outside the purview of cigars specifically, while they tie it back to white label.
Mhm.
It I mean, do you foresee the opportunity to delve into the music world? Like you mentioned Kanye a minute ago. I mean, how cool would that? What kind of activation and experience would that be if White
I
Label
can't even
got to dip its toe into something like that, right?
I wouldn't even imagine that. That's just, well, out of this world. But I mean, we have the new Bryant cigar. That's kind of
It's true.
in the
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
dude, the music world. Like, we have a lot of musicians that do enjoy Davidoff. I mean, a lot of mega, mega people that I'm constantly, you know, working with their people with getting them product, building humidors in their homes and stuff like that. Again, it's just like another connection to pop culture. I think it's awesome. Uh, and Avo's kind of been a blessing for that because it's part of the DNA of the brand. And we've been able to do a lot of really neat things with special DJs, special musicians, and all that stuff. And you'll see the campaign that rolls out because that's very much ingrained in it, in the Grieve campaign. Yeah, it's interesting, man. We're playing in a lot of different avenues of art, you know. And I say art because I'm talking about like actual artists, right? You have the art edition. We work with a lot of musicians and a lot of fashion designers. And it's kind of neat, man. It's kind of neat how they all kind of come back to this one world of this kind of lifestyle that we all live. And it's hard to articulate because it's just kind of like an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a part of it, for the most part, you get it. You know, like if you're smoking a cigar, you're listening to music a lot of times. You know, and anything could affect your cigar. The people you're with, the surroundings you're with, the whatever you've eaten, whatever you're drinking, the music that's playing, the lighting. So like, it all plays its own part into the experience piece. But yeah, man, you know, I'd love to see something happen more with music and Davidoff in the future. That'd be neat.
Well, you're just the man to bring it to him, so I'm excited.
Well, I don't know, man. There's a way bigger picture than me, man. There's a whole global department and team and different countries, but they know what they're doing. They're sharp.
Well, it's been really great to see you make your own stamp onto this team that we've been talking about tonight, because I was really excited when you joined the Davidoff team, because I really saw a lot of what we've kind of experienced the last 2 years I think there's this is just the beginning for what you and your team are going to do, and so I'm really excited about that firsthand. But these are I have two last questions tonight, Eddy, and God bless you, sir, for you trekked you trekked across the entire state of Florida to be back at home tonight so that you could do this show, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Dude, I'm actually having a great time, man. I'm having my cigar. I'm drinking. Just it's conversation, just like I'm not working right
now. Well, I still greatly appreciate it, and it really means the world to me. So these are my last two questions. That we kind of already touched on this one earlier tonight, but I understand there's a lot that you can't discuss and everything. But I know we're all really interested about these other brands that you guys have that have kind of not been touched, and there's a reason for that. I will acknowledge that it's not because the Cusanos, the Baccarats, the Griffins, like they have this core platform that they're on, and they exist in this fabric of the Davidoff universe for a reason.
Right.
But I know that again, the cigar nerds and us are just really aching to see a reactivation or something take place in that. Is there, I mean, it doesn't have to be in the immediate future. I mean, but is there one that's pinpointed as some earmark sometime in the not so distant future, the next 5 years, that you guys will kind of reinvigorate in some way and same from the example that I'm giving is what y'all did with Camacho. You acquired it, it kind of stood on its own for a little bit, and then the Live Loud kind of thing came out,
So good question. And I would like to say that the answer is yes, because that's like a personal passion that I want to do. So in a matter of years, I'm sure it will happen. When you look at these other brands like the Baccarat or Cusano or Griffins, and we look at them, we're like, man, nothing's happening in years. Dude, it's incredible how much these brands crush it. Like, crush it.
I heard you talk about that one time. You were saying how you looked at the numbers and you just couldn't believe.
Mind blown. I look at Baccarat and it's bigger than.
I'll say it out loud. It's got to be bigger than. It's got to be bigger than
companies put them together. Baccarat's bigger than them.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be bigger than some companies just by itself. Or I was going to say, like, even to pinpoint a brand with no disrespect intended, I mean, it probably blows Camacho Corojo out of the water. And I know that's a big thing for y'all.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like, it's a brand that's so old with so much distribution and such a specific segment of the market. I mean, when I saw what Baccarat does, like, I was like, oh man, I want to try to innovate with something that's kind of older. Like, let me see what's going on with Baccarat. I looked at Baccarat and I was like, oh my God. This is bigger than like half a pro cigar. You know what I mean? Like, this is huge. Like, wow. You don't fix anything that's not broken and that is thriving. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy to see that. And then, you look at Griffins and Camacho and Griffins and Cusano, and it's, dude, they're monster. And you would just never know, because like they don't play in that world where they're constantly coming out in like blog reviews or whatnot. But like this also has a lot to do with what I was saying earlier, that our world that we all like to like follow and communicate on and look at reviews, like it's 5% of sales. It's still a large number, like if you really look at numbers. But like the massive real world, like it's just so vast, and there's just so many people that consume these products, and they're all well made. So like I get it, but my next passion project would be to work on one of those brands, to just develop something new and to bring it into our world as well. to continue the growth and the demand for it. So it'll be, I'd say you'll see something in 5 years for sure. For sure.
I love Cusano, and I
Yeah.
and I would love to see a revigoration, like you said, activation of that brand. Even if you're not fixing, again, it's not broken. So if you're not fixing it, quote unquote, with an innovation, but just something to bring people back, I think that would be fantastic too. Because I think it's something that kind of,
you'll see Cusano globally do some stuff. I don't know about in the United States, like in the near future. So hopefully it'll translate into the US. But yeah, man, there's a lot of amazing innovation happening right now. It's really rewarding to have a catalog, if you will, of brands that you get to work with that are all just so awesome, and that there's potential to grow with,
mm-hmm.
So
it's exciting. It's definitely exciting.
It is, man. It's almost overwhelming, if that makes sense. Well, where do you start first? So it's neat.
Oh, awesome. Well, Eddy, this is our final question of the night, and as always, it's our curveball segment. So, this is the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs since the company's inception. Steve Saka's been knocking them out of the park. 6 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Yeah, I looked it up, and I even got fact checked by my good friend Mr. William Cooper. So, tonight's curveball question is this, Eddy. Okay, so I know you have had experiences in other companies, and I know you are a cigar nerd at heart. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Davidoff has as many brands in its portfolio. We just talked about that a second ago. And Davidoff did acquire Camacho years ago before you even joined the company, and has reinvigorated that and everything. So from the cigar nerd standpoint, okay, I'm putting you in control of Davidoff for 2 seconds. Well, a little bit longer than 2 seconds, okay? But from the creative mind that you are, the marketing are that you are, and I'm not saying that the choice to this question, you're saying that it's lacking. I'm saying you personally would just love to get your marketing hands on it and do something with it. I'm letting you acquire a brand from anywhere in the universe, any brand that Davidoff could bring in, and they say, Eddy, it's yours. And you don't have to tell me what you would do with it or anything like that. But what's a brand out there that you just would, man, it's really cool. And I would love to put the Eddy Guerra twist on it.
Cigar brand. That's a question. There's definitely some brands I'd like. Oh man, I have like 2 brands I would probably play with. So to choose one of the 2 would be interesting. God, I hate this question because I am a cigar nerd at heart. I'd probably go with LFD.
All right. I'm an LFD fan, so that's exciting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All
no,
right.
It's they're good. They're close friends of mine, but like I like people that do different things. They're very different for many reasons. So
yeah,
I think I can have some fun. Some fun with that.
We'll talk about the polar opposite of Davidoff, right? The nuance, the mild, and everything, and then you got the bold in your face Dominican.
Fill in some gaps, right?
Right. Yeah.
You got to fill in some gaps. Yeah. The second choice would have been Roma Craft.
Oh, okay.
So to that fit that gap, that polar opposite.
Nod to 2 of my favorites, man. That's fantastic. That'd be really cool. I would like to see the Eddy Guerra twist on those two, and I think that'd be fun to see. That'd be fun to see. Well, you open the door since this is a curveball question. There's a second part to this question. Then you open the door with it. So you said cigar brand. You asked that question, so I'll say let's go outside of the cigar world. What's a brand that you would just love to work with, not a cigar related? I'm sure this one's harder, right? Because it's a lot
It
bigger
is, man,
choices.
because there's so many brands and so many angles I would love to work with, man. Like I love seeing innovation, right? Like I get high on innovation, you know. So if you speak of the clothing and garment world, this might catch a lot of people off guard, but Puma would be one of them, right? And the reason why I
Okay.
say Puma is if you go to Puma's website, they specifically list collaborations, right? So they figured out one of the ultimate keys to marketing, which is friends help friends. And my audience plus your audience equals a larger audience. So Puma has been able to absolutely crush it in the collaboration game. You know, their innovation is bonkers and off the charts. So while I'm a Nike or Adidas fan at heart, regardless, the creativity and the collaboration work that Puma does is, for me, is spectacular. And then the other brand that I would do, which may also catch people off guard, is Bacardi. And the reason why I say Bacardi is they do a lot of experiential work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they put a immense amount of funds into experiential works. Like they go and buy old buildings and transform them into like Broadway studio with like walk through live museums with Broadway actors that kind of take you through the story of Bacardi or Havana Club or whatnot.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's
So
cool.
yeah, it's a really interesting thing. Um, you could Google it. It's called Amparo. There's a project that they did. It's about Amparo, who was the daughter of the people that created Havana Club in Cuba, and then Bacardi acquired it. So it's like the full story of the Cuban Revolution. And they basically bought this huge house in Miami, and they sunk $2 million into creating this walkthrough experience so people just understand the brand and to believe in your brand so much that you're willing to invest funds like that and hire people that their sole job is, and they're taking people from Broadway and taking them to another city to act and tell the story of acting for regular consumers to walk through just to learn about your brand. You believe in your brand so much that you're willing to do that. To me, that is just, you know, amazing.
That's
You
really
know, because
cool.
you see the bigger picture. A lot of corporations are like, I need ROI immediately. What, you know, versus somebody who sees a big picture, like the ROI will come if you execute properly. It's just not right now. It's going to be bad. You know, you got to pull the heartstrings on people and understand that if you build it, they will come eventually. You got to have that patience. So, yeah, they would be. They'd be a contender
That's awesome. Yeah, that'd
for
be
sure.
that'd be really. God, that'd be fun to see. I think that's very apropos, Bacardi, for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Puma, yeah, Puma did catch me off guard. I had a hunch you might say Air Jordan, just because we were talking about them earlier.
Well, dude, you know what? I love them, man. I genuinely love them, and we have a really close connection with them, and they are groundbreaking. I mean, they've entered the collaboration world, uh, obviously between Chris and Dior. They're doing stuff with artists. You know, you got Travis Scott designing stuff for them. You have, you know, J Balvin designing stuff for them, and it's Jordan.
Right.
It's $1 billion brand, you know, and they're a huge Davidoff fan, so shout out Jordan. But they're also very Jordan, and they don't need to do that much stuff. But like somebody like Puma was, it's just every year they release 6 or 7 collaborations that just sell out instantaneously, and they are affecting pop culture in a generation that you may not see it now, but in 7 years from now, all that hard work will show when everything is Puma. You're like, why? Because 7 years ago, they went bananas. Yeah. So it's
You heard it here first.
that I admire and respect and yeah.
Oh, awesome. You heard it here first. Puma. I like it.
Did you
What? Eddy, again, I can't thank you enough for tonight, and to my audience as well for hanging in late. Really appreciate it. For everyone out there, we do always appreciate all your likes, shares, and comments. Keep them coming. You can check out our ELOSOFUMAR page, Facebook page for upcoming guests and some great fresh takes coming along your way. You can also check out our YouTube page, ELOSOFUMAR. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you are listening to us later, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts, again, don't forget to hit the subscribe, download, and review button. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit the unsubscribe button, but do me a favor and hit the resubscribe button, because it actually helps my numbers and allows me to keep getting great guests like our esteemed guest, Mr. Eddy Guerra, tonight. So again, really appreciate everyone out there and appreciate our guest as well, Eddy Guerra. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you. As always, I am your host, Bear Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studios of Euless, Texas. Guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.